3, 2, 1. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
What's up?
Your haircut looks amazing.
Thanks. I don't have a haircut.
Oh, that's right.
Because
you're in the future.
we're in the future right now.
But in the past, you didn't have a haircut, but now you do.
Exactly.
That's how time works. We have a great interview today. Jesse Reed is the managing partner of Order, a Brooklyn-based design office specializing in brand identity systems for a wide range of clients and industries. In addition to Order, he is the co-founder of Standards Manual, an independent publishing imprint and Standards brand guidelines product. In 2021, he launched Order Type Foundry, an extension of his design office that will release commercial fonts from a new generation of type designers. Jesse is originally from Youngstown, Ohio, and graduated from the University of Cincinnati, just like another guy that I know.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Jesse came to studio, and we did a great interview with him. And so here it is. Are you still in a band?
Yeah, actively.
Actively playing drums?
Yeah.
What's the band called?
Sharkswimmer.
Sharkswimmer.
Yeah, one word.
Okay.
Compound word of Sharkswimmer.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's funny. It happened here in Greenpoint, like how that came to be very randomly. The singer was working at Odd Fox Coffee, which is on Manhattan.
Yes.
And his partner at the time was working at another cafe up here on Franklin. I would go into both of those coffee shops, either one when I got off the train or one when I was at work. And yeah, basically just, we started talking about like band t-shirts and like what we were wearing and like, oh, it's cool. I know that band, which are like very niche, like small bands that no one knows. And then eventually he's like, yeah, you should check out my band. And it turns out I actually knew the guitar player at the time. He's no longer in the band. I was like, oh, this is Danny's band. And then put together that him and this other person was his partner. They were also in the band together. And then they invited me to a show. And also I was playing in a band at the time.
Okay.
But they're like, we don't suppose you could play in a second band. And I was like, actually, I could. And so this band became my primary group.
Oh, your primary band.
Yeah. And then the other one sort of, faded away and we're all still cool. It was sort of like a fun, let's just play our instruments that like we used to play in high school. Mm-hmm. But this one, it's, we released an album a year ago.
Sharkswimmer.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the kind of music?
We say it's post-punk.
Post-punk.
Yeah.
That sounds very cool. I don't know what that means, but it sounds.
I don't know what it means either, but it is accurate. I think if you listen to it, it's melodic. It's a little bit angry. It's fast. It's loud. So like I demand people wear earplugs when they come to shows.
Were you in like hardcore bands or like punk bands as in high school and all that?
Yeah, I was in like a pop punk band.
Pop punk.
I have like a pop punk back, like a Newfound Glory, sort of saves the day.
Yeah, let's
brand
go.
new.
Yeah,
that's my world that I come from. So this is Thursday.
Yes.
Texas is the reason. So this is all adjacent.
I assume you're roughly my age by this knowledge.
I'm going to be 37.
Oh, you're younger than
July.
Me. Okay, I'm 39.
Yeah.
So
so pretty much
same world.
Pop punk, dominated our childhood.
100%. Like Drive Through Records is all I listened to. And it was like the Movie Life, Newfound Glory, all those bands. So,
how do you find the time to run a design studio and also be in multiple bands?
So now it's only one band, but even then, I don't know, Tuesdays are our practice night. And then, so it's like I have to leave work at 6:30 for practice. And we play shows, I guess not always on weekends, but, you just make time for that to happen. We go on little tours every now and then.
You guys are doing one this summer, right?
Yeah, exactly. The end of June.
Where are you going?
It's not very far. The tri-state region. Lansdale, Pennsylvania, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Fuck yeah.
And then Brooklyn. And then potentially like a Baltimore or Philly at the start of it. But yeah, we're supporting a band called Actor Observer. So we're, which they're like hardcore.
Yeah. I guess to be on this tour, you have to have 2 words and then.
I guess so. But those are separate words. They have a divide between them.
Sharkswimmer.
What's the divide? Is it a space or a dash?
It's a space. It's a space. A clean divide. But Sharkswimmer, we just jammed it together. Which so I'm a new member. I'm not an original member, but I am now the second longest member in the current configuration.
Do you ever do shows in Greenpoint?
Yeah.
Pauly G's, where do we play?
Oh my God. Yeah, I wish. I just think of the Denny's video. It's like, what's up, Denny's? Like, what's up, Pauly G's?
I saw someone play Taco Bell or something.
Yeah,
recently.
So that's my friends. Shout out to Dan and Allison Verklin. That is their Taco Bell. They texted me, or maybe I texted them. Anyways, that's their local Taco Bell. It was like a great like circle pit in the parking lot.
Yeah. Kevin has done some inside information here. So
right.
Because he knows people that know you very well.
Yeah.
One of those notes that I got was you're a big Taco Bell guy.
True.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, please sponsor
Talk
me.
about it. Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's just, it was my fast food of choice, or the one that my parents took me to growing up, and then it just gets in your system, and it's like it's in my blood at this point. So I've eaten hundreds of cheesy gordita crunches.
Do you go to the one in Greenpoint?
Yeah, of course. Our practice space is in front of it.
Oh, that's dangerous.
So
Nice.
every Tuesday, just about between 2 to 4 times a month, I eat Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And now it's $20 for an order instead of $5.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, they've inflation. How much do you want to rebrand Taco Bell? Because that's, to me, it's like one of the only fast food establishments that's kind of hasn't had someone get in there in the last like 10 years. It could use some love, I think.
100%. I mean, I don't even know what I would do. Like, I don't want to like Swiss it out and make it this modernist looking thing. You'd have to sort of embrace
the old, the funky.
Like how it was, we do the order thing, where we go back into the archives and pull out some old logo and then make it that.
That's exactly
so that's probably what we would do.
Yeah, they have some good old logos.
They do.
Their packaging,
Yeah.
package designs, the company, is not great. It's like has this like kind of like smattering thing on the side. It's like
distressed. I mean, it is like pop punk 2000s like t-shirt.
That's right. It does fit that aesthetic, but it's like I don't know what it's meant to be. It's like sauce splatters or like I don't know what the idea of it. But you're right. It's got a bit distressed. Like
it's like overlapping colored logos.
Yes.
So I would absolutely love to just do something.
Yeah.
Like
shout out to Taco Bell.
Shout out.
Call us up.
Sponsor Order. Sponsor Sharkswimmer. To sponsor something.
Yeah. Let Sandra do the packaging.
Like if I could just design the sauce packets, that would be a huge win.
No,
honestly,
I agree.
just that.
The sauce packets are iconic.
Yeah.
They just released some like new ones or something. They've been killing it.
They do like a Verde every now and then, or like a Diablo.
They did like an Apple style keynote I saw like a couple months ago, which I thought was a really brilliant move.
Amazing.
They were like, we're going to show you our new products for the year. And like, I've been saying this for years. Apple has been dominating with these keynotes and they get everyone excited about the products. They announce them. Why doesn't every company that has any following do keynote style announcements? And they kind of nailed it too. It was a little weird.
I feel like not a true fan. I didn't even know that.
Sorry, Jesse. I mean, this is a branding show. This is what we do. We talk about the weekend branding, so we know about this kind of stuff. So it keeps us kind of fresh.
We're all about learning too.
Yeah, we're all about learning.
Man.
So Order, the studio, Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You have what I consider the dream studio setup, where you have a storefront, you have a bookstore in the front of the studio, and then you guys in the back, and then you have a backyard.
Yes.
As someone who has always wanted a hybrid studio, why is it a good idea and why is it a terrible idea?
The benefits are we have had new clients come into the bookstore and then they're like, "Oh, you guys did these like the NASA book," or like things that they recognize from Standards Manual, which is technically the name of the bookstore. And then they're like, "Well, what's going on back there?" And then we sort of describe, "Well, we have a company called Order. We do branding and identities." And so we have gotten 2 major clients from just that happening.
That is
honestly
shocking.
Yeah. Like, Adidas being one of them. I'm just going to name drop because it's like so old now. It's like, so because
Adidas just came by and they were just like, "Yo, let me get a book." And then they're like, "Also, let me get a brand identity."
Well, they're like, "Oh, this is like the NASA book. Like, we love that. Like, what do you guys do here?" And then we sort of explain the other side of the company. So that is a pro. The con is that there is a lot of street traffic, which we're very exposed to. And as our design director, Garrett Corcoran, will tell you, it can be, it's just distracting, which I get. It is, they're like just sirens going off and dogs barking and kids crying, skateboarders doing ollies everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's a little revealing. But
every time I walk past, I make sure to just stare the whole time.
And then we get like we know you, but then we get the random stares, and then people sometimes will knock to like come in or just the whole peering in.
Oh yeah,
like face up against the glass.
Yeah,
I love leering in your studio.
That's a great thing.
One time I got Garrett right when he was taking a bite of the sandwich.
Oh yeah,
it was great.
There's no privacy.
So my idea for a hybrid studio. Ready for this one?
Yeah,
big idea. Don't steal this. Anyone listening? Hybrid sandwich shop design studio.
Love it.
And we make sandwiches in the front.
Yeah.
And they're named after designers. So the Italian is the Vignelli.
Amazing.
And that's as far as I've gotten with
This
this
is
idea.
so
But,
niche and would take off. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
We've thought about similar. We're constantly like, should we turn the store? Like, we went to this Herman Miller events, which maybe we can talk about in a bit. But they did a hot dog cart, and we're like, what if we just get a hot dog cart and sell hot dogs out of the front?
Yeah, it would be really sweet, except for someone's going to be in a meeting and then have to go make a sandwich.
Yeah. Garrett going to be manning the cart?
There are flaws. I told him he has to man it if we get it, and he was all about that.
Yeah.
We love hot dogs at the office. So there's a big condiment debate on what you put on hot dogs.
Well, I bet there was.
Oh, boy.
We have only pro mustard and anti ketchup, and then we have. I'm like put everything on it hot dog.
Same.
Whether it's a Chicago dog, Seattle dogs are actually my favorite dog.
Oh yeah.
So shout out Seattle dogs.
Kevin
The
loves
cream
the
cheese.
The
Seattle
cream
dog.
cheese.
Yeah,
I don't know. Not everyone knows about Seattle dogs.
Dude, they're underrated.
Yeah, Kevin
I hope
came
you're
here.
flashing some Seattle dog photos up at this point. Yeah.
We should have a show that has like that ability, but we're not quite there yet. Kevin went to Seattle or was on a trip, a wedding or something, came back. He was raving about the Seattle hot dog. I had not heard of it. It's cream cheese.
Yeah, all the
Toasted
fixings.
with cream cheese, so it melts, and it's like a bratwurst. It's not like a little New York, Nathan's dog. It's like a full
got some meat to
sausage.
it.
And then there's something, don't hold me to the Seattle people, but there's other ingredients that I'm not remembering where it's like peppers or caramelized onions. There's some other
there's some
vegetable.
caramelized onions, and then there was some fixins on the side. Like there were some hot peppers you put on.
Did they put sriracha?
I think you could if you wanted to.
So I did an internship in Seattle, and that's how I was exposed to it and then know it, but obviously have forgotten the true makeup of it.
It sounds delicious to me. I am too much of a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So
what are you?
To get down with the Chicago dog?
Yeah.
I'm like a Nathan's, put everything on it.
Cool. All right.
Like, sauerkraut, mustard, ketchup.
So I love that. I just basically love everything. I like, as Garrett calls it, fuss. I like the most fuss you can put on a thing.
Yeah, because you're trying to make it a substantial. Like a hot dog with just mustard is like, it needs more.
This
than
is
that.
the debate that we've been having.
You're from Ohio.
Yes.
Kevin, also
from
Ohio.
Yeah.
You went to the University of Cincinnati.
Correct.
A terrible place to live. Can you say anything nice about it whatsoever?
Cincinnati specifically or Ohio
specifically,
State?
yes. Say it directly at Kevin.
Yeah. Why it's bad.
Or anything nice about it
Anything nice.
whatsoever.
We love Cincinnati.
And then, what?
We love Cincinnati.
What do you like about
We love
Cincinnati?
Ohio.
What? Redemption.
We're like shouting a lot of cuisine here, but Skyline Chili.
That's the next question on the list.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
100% pro. I absolutely love it.
Ugh.
But it's funny. My first exposure to it was just getting coffee. It was like freshman year, and someone's like, "Do you want to go to Skyline to get like a coffee?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't know what Skyline is. They have coffee.
I didn't know that.
And then everyone's
Skyline
obviously
chili
eating
coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
Oh,
but
man.
then then you get drunk a couple times and you eat Skyline, and then you
Exactly.
start eating it sober all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I lived right down the street and basically couldn't not go there if I had like one beer. Like I have to have Skyline.
There is a compulsion there.
Yeah.
It draws you in.
I think
You
in
just have to.
college, though, you're more like
doesn't
I'll give
matter.
you a pass for eating such slop. But,
I'm fully into it.
Yeah.
And now, there's a place in Tribeca called Edwards. You know about this?
Yeah,
so they
I've
do
heard about
a
this.
Cincinnati night. Not just they have Skyline, Graders, La Rosas, and then ribs, Montgomery Inn.
Whoa.
They fly it all in.
Oh my god.
At like a multiple of 4 price increase.
So you just said something. Graders
Yes.
is the best ice cream on
Yeah, there you
planet
go.
Earth. I will give you guys that. Like
Cool.
Graders ice cream, which it's the raspberry chocolate chip is like the famous one, right?
Yeah,
Is
see, that sounds terrible to
no,
me.
it's
Yeah.
so fucking
I'm a
good.
vanilla ice cream, which like people are gonna be like, you fucking boring person. But I'm a vanilla ice cream. Graders is like actually whatever to me. I just because I'm not a sweets person. So I'm
Yeah.
more give me Skyline and Montgomery
yeah.
and ribs.
Oh, yeah.
Graders, I have a lot of friends. that
I'm
love
not
it.
a big ice cream guy, but
Yeah.
I went to Cincinnati and I had Skyline and I was drunk and I still was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is kind of gnarly. And then I went to some dinner and they had Grader's ice cream on like the menu, and the people I was with were like, you have to try this.
Do we need to describe Skyline? No one knows what Skyline
Skyline
is.
chili. How would you describe it, Kevin?
Like just the components at the very least.
the
Like,
components of what are we talking
Well,
about? Are we
like
talking
the
about
spaghetti.
chili
Yeah,
spaghetti, or are we talking
and
about
then the hot
yeah,
dogs,
the spaghetti, the
First
core.
spaghetti.
you got some spaghetti with
Yeah.
a little bit of what we would
A little
maybe
bit of-
like to call a Greek bolognese.
right?
Greek bolognese.
Yes,
yeah.
it's a runny
It's a
chili.
red
Yeah, it's like
chili
it's a meat sauce.
It's watery.
So immediately you're putting chili on top of spaghetti.
Correct.
Yeah, which is the Italians do it with bolognese. It's a little bit runnier than bolognese.
We're finding the arguments.
Fine.
then-
Yes, yeah.
If it's a three-way,
No one's ever called it a bolognese. They call it chili.
no, it's bolognese adjacent.
It is.
Adjacent.
It's a meat
That's
sauce.
the style.
You're trying to make
Yeah.
it sound better.
It's a little bit more watery.
Okay.
But, yeah, and then if you want to do a three-way, you just top it with cheese. Four-way, throw some onions or beans, and then five-way is
Oof.
onions and beans.
These are official
with cheese.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 4-way.
But there's
Yeah.
equal parts shredded cheddar cheese
Oh, yeah.
to the spaghetti
Yeah,
or the
it's
chili.
So much cheddar
Oh,
cheese.
boo-hoo.
Yeah.
First time you ever complain about fucking cheese, Alex.
No, I do like the cheese component. I also like the
Double
little,
it.
the oyster crackers that
Yeah.
you put on it. That's
That's
awesome.
that's the
hot
appetizer.
Yeah,
sauce.
the hot sauce is great.
Yeah.
You love that hot sauce.
No,
You-
it's just
you destroyed it when I
it's-
brought it in the studio.
it's just the chili and the spaghetti combo. That
I think
struggle with.
I think you're
And
just a
also
hater.
maybe something about the chili, like it's got like a bit of a cumin or cinnamon.
Yeah, a
It's
little
got like some sort
cumin,
of
Chocolate,
cinnamon,
they
a little
say, is the
chocolate.
secret ingredient.
chocolate.
It's a
Yeah,
secret
it's-
secret sauce.
I don't. That's the part I struggle with. is
And then
the
a coney,
sweet-
hot dog, chili, cheese, onions, mustard.
yeah, it's fucking
I mean,
great.
I like a chili
Amazing.
dog.
I'm
but
hungry right now.
Yeah,
Me too.
No, this is
My order's 2 conies and a 3-way. Small
All right.
3-way.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, enough of this.
Yeah,
I need
let's
to
move. Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't know what skyline is. You have to explain the sort of, monstrosity
It's,
of this.
No, it's an
Basically,
institution.
it's a food that somebody working like 12 hours would step out for their little lunch break.
Yeah.
They'd load up on calories and get right back to the line.
Get to the factory.
yeah.
Are you a Bengals fan? Do you sports?
I'm just not a sports
You're
person.
not a sports guy. Okay,
So that whole
that's
topic will be mute.
Okay, next topic.
Yeah.
You worked at the MoMA. Was your first job?
Yeah.
So what was your role? What did you do? What were you doing there?
I was more or less a junior designer. I think my title was officially just designer, but I was like right out of college designer. But yeah, it was the Department of Advertising and Graphic Design.
Hell yeah. I
That's
love
the
that.
official title. I don't know if it's still the same, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, that team does everything from exhibition identities to the marketing, on billboards and out of home to signage. And then, every department is essentially your client. So education or curatorial. So yeah, you would get these design requests from every department, and then you were assigned to make a stanchion sign for someone, or like the big one would be, a sort of identity for the 6th floor exhibition, which was sort of the big deal. And it's funny. Julia Hoffman was my boss. She was the creative director, and I just saw her for the first time in like 10 years on Monday nights. So
Nice.
shout out Julia.
And sweet job. Great
Amazing.
job, first job. How do you land that gig?
So one of my internships in school was at Pentagram.
Okay.
So it all comes back to Pentagram.
Got it.
And then when I graduated and just moved back to the city, I just, knocked on everyone's doors and said like, hey, I'm here. I need a job. And so I'd just gone in. I interviewed with Abbott Miller, who I don't even think had a position open. He just sort of did it as a favor.
Nice.
But then I just said, what's up to people? And then Julia had just emailed the entire staff of Pentagram, because not to get too deep here, but Julia worked for Paula Scher, and they did the whole rebrand at whatever year that was, maybe 2010, 9. And so she emailed, said, we're looking for a junior. I just happened to go into Pentagram. And then Joe Marianic, I credit him. He said, yeah, this guy Jesse was our intern. He just moved here. You should, give him a call.
Yeah.
So that's how. So
Cool.
I woke up on an air mattress that I was sleeping on when I moved. So I was subletting a Craigslist room, in Brooklyn, and just saw a MoMA email, and then that's how it happened.
That sounds so easy and just like,
I know,
I just got a job at the most important museum in New York. But was that the first time you moved to New York was for that gig, or you had lived in New York for the Pentagram internship?
So for 3 months, basically my school, the University of Cincinnati, they have co-ops. And so you would go to school for a quarter, and then I was on the quarter system. So work for a quarter, school for a quarter, co-op, work. So you'd alternate. So I had 6 jobs, internships during school.
Kevin, how many jobs did
I think
you
I
have?
had like 5.
Right,
4 or
because
5.
they went to semesters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
5 jobs when you were in college?
like paid internships.
5 different
Yeah.
for the whole senior year?
No.
It's a 5-year program.
You start after your 3rd semester.
So you do different internships every semester.
Yeah, you alternate. So it's like school, work.
That's pretty fucking amazing.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And your resume is loaded by the time you graduate. And then you just know so much more about the actual professional. And that's what it is, the professional environment and professional.
Yeah, the best way to learn how to be a designer is being a designer. That's what I always say. So in University of Cincinnati, did they still do this?
Oh
yeah.
It's a big selling point, which I didn't know about when I started there.
Why? Why
'Cause I
do more
transferred.
schools do that? I feel like
It's hard to maintain because
Yeah.
it's so competitive where everyone in your class is going after essentially the same internships.
Yeah, of course.
So my point was I had come back and forth to and from New York
Got
for
it.
these internships.
Interesting.
But then when I
for
did,
a whole semester.
yeah, a quarter, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 months.
That's pretty
Um,
cool. I mean, also you miss a little bit of college though, no?
No,
Like-
it's it's a requirement.
no, but I'm saying
Oh.
like you're not in school.
Well,
at
you really
school.
only hang out with like the people, you know,
You
kinda
do miss
in your
this
grade.
whole other half of your class because you're on alternate cycles. So there's like a
Got it.
spring, fall, summer, winter. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where else
or
did
for
you
us
work?
it was.
Where else did you work?
So Christie's Auction House. This company called Jimmy's with a Z that was owned by Aeropostale,
Hell yeah.
no longer in business, and
Hell
that was
yeah.
like graphic tees,
Hell
and that was that.
Jimmy's Sportswear? Is that what it's called? No.
No, it was like their version of Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
So we ripped off like Obey and like Billabong and probably
that's-
Supreme, all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
And then I worked at the Village Voice.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Right, as a
Nice.
photography intern because I'm
Whoa.
into photography, so they let me do that. And then at the same time, I worked at a small studio called Roger and Co. For this, a good friend of mine now, Roger Bova. And then I worked in Seattle. This is my Seattle dog phase. Hornell Anderson, which now also no longer exists, and then Pentagram was my last one. And then so just after graduation, I just straight up moved here because I had the most amount of experience and contacts, and then that's how the MoMA thing happened.
That's crazy. I mean, at that point, yeah, you had a full resume of
Yeah.
jobs, and
Yeah.
you had worked, done photography and
Right.
streetwear or whatever,
Yeah,
you know,
that's giving it too much credit.
yeah.
But yeah, so I lived here for a month and a half before getting MoMA, but I basically had 3 months of money saved up to exist here before I had to move back to Cincinnati.
Got it.
It sounds like exactly what I did.
Yeah.
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 Like I had $3,000. That's
Yeah,
what I
and
moved
Kevin,
here
you
with.
were like HBO. What were some of the other ones? You did?
I did like LPK.
Nice.
And I did a small solar stove startup, very crunchy.
Yeah,
Sick.
HBO in the national park.
that's sick.
At a
HBO
national
and National Park. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
National park was like I don't know if I like design anymore, so I'm gonna go.
Oh.
I'm gonna go to the wilderness.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, got
and then
it.
I
Okay,
did
got
like
it,
a
yeah.
startup incubator.
Zookeeper. What was the search up?
Native plant propagation intern.
Hell yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It was sweet.
Plants.
That's sick.
That is sick. And so then you eventually find your way to Pentagram.
Yes, and I guess I owe that to AIGA, to be honest, because at MoMA, Julia suggested I go enter this competition at the National AIGA conference called Command X. You're aware?
I am aware. Yeah.
Garrett was in it.
Yeah.
You've never participated.
No.
Okay.
I'm not a big competition guy.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
not
get
a big
to
like
that.
intellectual competition.
Yeah, I hear you. I was like, it was terrifying. But to be honest,
Yeah, I forgot
was-
about Command X. It was like a live design.
they still do it.
Really?
I'm almost positive. So yeah, it's like a American Idol for graphic designers. So it starts with I think 7 people, and then
Damn.
you have 24. The first project, you have like a week. They give it to you before the conference, and then if you make it through the first round, you have 24 hours to produce the assignment and then present it live on stage. So honestly, this is the only reason I can give presentations with confidence is because
You were on American
I
Idol
was
of graphic
pushed onto
design.
a stage in front of 1,500 people, including like the idols of my career that were all, speaking. It was like Michael Vanderbilt, Michael Beirut was the MC. So this
Yeah.
is the connection. Michael Beirut was the MC of that competition.
Did he have any good jokes?
Yeah,
Tons.
He was like the Simon Cowell.
Tons.
Of,
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Like these videos are online.
Yeah, I
You
was
can-
gonna say,
yeah.
why is this not like recorded and on?
It's recorded.
TV?
It's
Okay,
all on
okay.
there.
Yeah.
Sean Adams was sort of the on the ground, like as you're
Ryan
designing.
Seacrest? Yeah.
Yes, he was the Ryan Seacrest. So I'm not. I
feel
can't.
like I
Like,
didn't know how big or like how in depth this was.
it's a big deal. I mean, and then it's like fun, but then it's also like really stressful and serious for the people participating.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
So it's like
Sounds-
7 down to 5 down to 3 and then a winner. So anyways, I won this competition.
Nice.
Michael was the MC. He sort of like pretended like he didn't know me, and this was like after I'd interned for him for 3 months. He honestly like
That's just classic Big Mike, though. you know?
totally. He's like, I don't want to play favorites, whatever. I'm like, do you remember me? Like, we know each other. Anyways, and then months after that, he emailed me to say there was a position open. Do I want to interview for it? And to be honest, I wasn't even interested in leaving MoMA. I liked that job. The team was great. It was very fun. But I was like, I should just do this like for funsies. And then after leaving, I was like, no, I want this job. And yeah, I'm fortunate enough that I got that position. So that was my second job and the only, so I've only worked at MoMA, Pentagram, and then starting Order.
That's pretty swag.
Yeah, it's pretty
He
dope.
reached out to you.
It was, I don't know, man. I think just there weren't as many graphic designers in the city 13 years ago because now, the job market's tough. But at that point, I think it was maybe limited inventory.
Yeah, there was like 6 or 7 people.
Yeah,
They were just like, oh, let's go with this Jesse guy.
Yeah.
He's also from Ohio.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
we have
like-
the Ohio connection.
Yeah.
But that was for sure my dream job. I always wanted to work there. Like in school, once I learned because our student work was Michael Beirut. They're like, this past student Michael Beirut works with this thing called Pentagram. I had no idea what Pentagram was in college until
He's
like
also a
sophomore.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like he's a god
Got
there.
it. He's-
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's from
They have a
Parma,
plaque
Ohio.
like Rocky.
They basically should. And so then I like copied his work or tried to like emulate what he was doing. My professor was like, yeah, you like Pentagram. They do like systems and they have like a process and everything. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
And then, I became very well aware of it. So that happened sooner than I had anticipated.
Yeah. And what was it like working for?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'll never have a better boss. I mean, he really did teach me mostly everything I know. I mean, design, of course, but mostly about business.
Yeah.
He really exposes the designers and the team to how the business is operated to a certain degree. I mean, you were exposed to proposals and you were in every meeting that was related to that project that you were on. So I just, would sit there quietly and not say a thing for about 3 years and just absorb how he gave presentations. And so between Julia pushing me on the stage at Command X and then listening to Michael give presentations, I have developed whatever persona of giving presentations I've developed. And I think a lot of people have this when they work for Michael. He has an approach that is very conversational and not scripted and extremely, I don't know, just more on a human level that is less performative and dramatic than I think other designers, take on, which like neither is better or worse. It's just, there's a natural flow to it that happens. So anyway, it was an amazing job. I learned so much from him and how to really start a project from A to Z. That's another thing people don't know is that he only, at least when I was there, it was like one designer per project.
Wow.
And you are responsible from the very beginning to the very end to build the presentations with him. At a certain point, you gave presentations alongside of him, and then you would just, crank out the deliverables, do the guidelines, close out the project. And it was only you doing it with maybe the support of like a project manager.
I never knew that. That's a wild.
It's just his team. Every team operates differently, but that's how he did it.
It's just like, this is your project.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah. There's no competition.
Yeah. And you are doing multiple systems, I assume.
Yeah. You do like 5 projects at a time.
Whoa.
So that's the way that I run it at Order.
Whoa. You're just like one man up.
Yeah,
one
exactly.
woman up. You're just like whoever's there.
It's just you dedicate it. And it's just, it's like, all right, you own this and you don't have to worry about like someone else getting the pitch or, competing against you. And then if they get it, they get it. If you get it, you get it. So
how does he determine who gets what though?
Honestly, I think after a while of the first 3 years of silence, I just did. I was like scared to talk, but he sort of like sees what you're most attracted to or what you're thriving in, whether it's identities or books or exhibitions, so he sort of finds your most interest, the thing you're most interested in. And then, so I did a lot of restaurants. I sort of became a restaurant person. Like I did Gato was a I got into like Bobby Flay portfolio.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I went to Gato. Is that place?
No, it closed down almost like a week after the pandemic. He's like, no, we're not doing it, and shut it
was
down.
really good. It's like Mediterranean.
It was extremely good. So I did that identity, and then like
forgot about
worked on Bobby's Burger Palace. I didn't do the original
hell yeah.
one.
Oh
and,
yeah. Shout out to Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
Wait, did you do the second one? The second iteration of Bobby's Burger?
No,
Place?
it was not. I sort of did a few menu updates,
Okay.
and then I did like Bobby Flay's website, which was like all of his restaurants, which I don't even know if that still
Did you get
exists.
to meet him?
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. I forgot about Gato's brand.
He sort of like scolded me for asking about a recipe.
Oh,
in like
Bobby
the most
Flay?
New York way. It was like I loved. Like I sort of love. He was very much like I'm gonna give you shit sort of person. And I was like, oh, how do you make these like 11-layer potatoes? He's like, do I ask you how to do graphic design? I was like, noted, and it was kind of incredible.
That fucking rules. Shout out to Bobby Flay.
No, I
What a
love
legend.
Bobby Flay. I'm a fan.
He's like, why don't you shut the fuck
Yeah,
up?
seriously, basically. I was like, how do you make this? I'm not fucking telling
That's an awesome question to
That
ask.
is incredible.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
branding is great. I'm looking at the old website. It is
Thanks,
a dead restaurant, but a great branding system. And a really good food too. I went to the Partners Tell All Pentagram AIGA event like a couple months ago.
I wasn't there.
And I'm a big Bravo guy. I watch a lot of Andy Cohen.
Yeah.
And so I was, waiting for the salacious, sort of drinks to be poured on
Totally.
another founder, but that didn't happen. But what I really loved was, sort of breaking down the model of Pentagram, which I knew a little bit about. Like I didn't sort of grow up like, sort of learning as much about Michael Beirut as like you guys did. And, but yeah, no, it's super interesting about how insular these teams are inside of Pentagram, and they're all under obviously the one umbrella, but they really are their own agencies. And how big is the Michael Beirut team at Pentagram? Like, how big of an agency is that?
Yeah, I mean, every team I feel like is always in flux.
Okay.
When I was there, I want to say it was like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 people.
Yeah.
Give or take. Most designers, and then we had sort of a team coordinator, Tamara McKenna. I'm going to shout her out because she doesn't get enough praise.
Shout her out.
And then
She's
then there
definitely
were
watching
100%, and then a few project managers, and so it was really mostly designers at different levels, and eventually then there's you get like made associate partner. I was by the time I think my 3rd or 4th year I became an associate, and it's more responsibility and sort of bigger projects, I suppose. But so 12 people, and maybe that's like the average. Maybe some teams operate on 5, 6 people. Emily Oberman's team I feel like is pretty large. But yeah, around.
It's pretty cool because I was like,
it's like a baker's dozen.
So center's 11.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're kind of like the right size
100%
studio. And I was just kind of like, is this the perfect size for a design studio? And I think it is.
Yeah.
Because you can do everything.
Yeah.
And you could bring other people in if you need. But I just kind of had this realization. I was like, oh, this is kind of the model that they run. It's just like 20 of them, or however many of them are.
And I'm not joking. There was Michael had about like, I honestly remember it as being like 75 open projects.
Jesus Christ.
Because we would go through like these like monthly sort of like, the list of everything. And he just, that's how he can do it though, is you divvy it up. Like, Jesse, you're going to do these 5, Hamish, my business partner, he's like, you get that, and everyone else. So, you separate, 12 or whatever, like, 9 designers, and they do 5 to 6 projects each, and at varying levels, and then some are more, some are less.
That's
and then
crazy.
but he oversees it all, and I never knew how his brain could function.
Yeah, that's
that
like
way.
70 more projects than we do at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it's nutty. Yeah, we do like 12.
12 is even a lot. And how big is Order?
So we're at 6 right now.
Okay.
Just with an intern starting this
So you
week.
do 12. You guys, you guys.
We have 3 full-time designers at, again, different levels: a design director, senior designer, designer, mid-level, an intern, myself, and then a head of operations.
And they run the projects by themselves in that same
More or
order?
less.
Wow.
So Megan, she's our head of operations. She oversees the operational qualities of every job, and then I oversee it more or less as a creative director, but then each designer is responsible for doing the research, putting together the presentations, giving the presentations, and then doing the deliverables, guidelines. They do a lot.
Oof.
So,
Wow. Yeah, that's
and again, that's like a 4 to 5 projects at a time sort of cadence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Backing up a little bit,
Yeah.
when you were at Pentagram, were you like, I want to be a partner? Was that a goal of yours? Were you like, this is
Honestly,
my,
not really.
dream?
It just seems sort of like so high up and like unattainable. I was just like, I'm not even going to think like that. I'm just going to try to not get fired, or like try to not fuck something up right now. So I never really thought about that, like, honestly.
But at some point, you had an idea for a standards manual. So when does that come into the picture? That was while you're at
For
Pentagram.
sure. Yeah. So, 2014 is when that initial project happened, and we didn't even think of the idea. I mean, well, it sort of happened naturally. So yeah, myself and our team, Michael's team, we were in the basement of Pentagram looking for a tarp. This is like an old story, but if you haven't heard it, this is the story. Looking for a tarp to cover a foosball table that was on the roof of Pentagram that we put up there for a party. So that was like how this started. And then we're like digging through old lockers and like piles of, not like garbage, but just piles of design junk in the basement. And then we found the, MTA or NYCTA manual and like freaked out. Brought it upstairs, all sort of geeked out for a good day of just looking at every page. And then, me and Hamish really just naturally and like, I don't know, casually, we're like, let's just photograph this thing and like make a website so that other people can see what we had just uncovered. And so that was 2014. We made the website. It did get a lot of traffic, but then we sat on it for about a year. And then the MTA was our clients. And then we pitched the idea about doing a Kickstarter to republish the book. And they sort of didn't really believe in us too much. Like, yeah, sure, go like give it a shot.
Nice, yeah.
And then so we just wanted to make like a reissue of that manual. We did a Kickstarter for it. And yeah, that was the birth of the company. But we weren't like, let's start a publishing company. It was like, let's just make this one book.
Honestly, it's such a good story. It sounds almost like a fictitious story. You're like, I was walking through the basement.
Yeah, but you can fact check me. I tell the same story every time when I'm being interrogated.
No, it just sounds like a movie where you're like, we had headsets on and we were looking with our with our
headlamps.
Yeah, headlamps. Thank you. And we found this manual. It
in
started
a deep
glowing,
cave. Yeah.
and you're just like, this is gold. We need to do this.
I know. I gotta get down in that basement.
Yeah, that basement sounds sick.
Well, like RIP because they moved buildings. So it was at the old Pentagram, which was, it was an old bank. I mean, it was like there was a vault down there. We did not find this in the vault. That's like where the IT department and like sample library was. But it more or less, was in a bank basement, almost as if it were hidden treasure. It was in a gym locker. That's where we found it.
That's insane. And so I looked it up this morning. That Kickstarter raised $802,812.
Damn, precise. Yes.
With 6,718 backers.
Yeah.
What were your expectations for that?
Maybe 1,000 books, like maybe 1,000 backers, because that was our goal.
Yeah.
So the goal was like 100,000.
Yeah, 108,000.
Yeah, exactly.
The goal.
So I think that was just the most. What was it? Like the basically the quantity of books. It was like 1,000 books, and so we're like, okay, if we can just do that, we can sell it for under $100 and it will be like, maybe we'll break even and be able to produce this if we just meet that goal. But it was sort of like the highest amount we were willing to pay and like the least amount of books that we needed to sell and able to just break even. So that was the goal, was 1,000 books, $100,000. And by noon, we had reached that goal.
Shit.
So it was one of those, like, you look at your phone and you can't do anything on it because there are sales coming in.
That's crazy.
And it was the most anxious I've ever felt.
Were you like, fucking, we're rich?
No,
no.
It was.
It's $1 million, essentially. You know?
So it does sound impressive, and it is, but that's not like we made profit. It was just we printed 7,000 books.
But for a second, were you just like, we're rich, we made $1 million?
I don't know. Honestly, it was more scary than it was exciting because I think we're like, fuck, like we are on the hook to do this.
Now we have to make these books
because you can't.
Fuck ton of books, 7,000 books.
Like maybe you could refund people, but at that point, like, once you reach the goal, it's like money's unlocked, and so like you get it because if you don't reach your goal on Kickstarter, you don't get any money.
That's right. Yeah.
But you reach the goal, and you're like, okay, you're gonna get this money, and now you have to fulfill your promise. And people probably have a million horror stories of Kickstarter campaigns that they've backed and never got the thing. My dad has a bunch. He's like, you guys better do this because I have like 4 Kickstarter projects that I've never gotten the thing from. And
wow.
So we wanted to just not mess this up. I think my like MO is that I just don't want to like get fired or fuck something up, so that I just want to fulfill the promise that I have set out on. So that it was honestly not like, man, we're rich. It was just now we are like on the hook to make this happen. So yes, and then a year later we did NASA.
I was gonna say, so the next one is NASA. So
did you find that one in the basement?
Yeah, where'd you find?
No, we went straight to the source. So yeah, like basically, we did meet our expectations. We sent all the books, we printed it. We didn't totally drop the ball. And then we were honest. We went to the bank and we're like, we need to open an account to put $800,000 in. But like, we're just going to shut this in like 3 months. Like, we're just going to put it in, deplete it, and then shut this account. Like, that's honestly what I said to the bank.
Yeah. They're like, you guys are great business.
They're like, what drugs are you selling?
You're like, why are you doing this?
And then people on Twitter kept on sort of mentioning like, there's this NASA manual, you should do this for the next book. And we sort of not like push it aside, but we basically just had the expectation that this wasn't going to become a company. But then we looked into it and we found Richard Daney. He's one of the 2 partners of the firm that did the NASA identity, Daney and Blackburn. He has a website up with his email address. And so we just sent him an email saying, Richard, we published this Vignelli manual on Kickstarter. It was successful. We would like to do the same thing for your manual. Are you interested? And within hours, he emailed us back saying, absolutely. I'm going to be in New York next week for an AIGA conference. I'll bring you my copy of the manual.
Wow.
So Richard
you're
Daney
done.
came to Pentagram, because that's where we were working still at the time, and brought us a bubble wrapped copy of his manual. And then we just essentially replicated the same formula of doing the Kickstarter. We made a video, we did a Kickstarter campaign. For that one, I think we wanted a higher sort of goal amount. So maybe
you set it at 150.
Yeah.
So
maybe that was like 2,000 books or something, if we could like sell that. And then that one truly almost got to $1 million.
yeah,
Like,
$941,966.
So
close, man.
yeah,
You know?
I should have just put in I didn't have any money. I don't know. I just had but yeah, so that one, I think we printed 10 or 12,000 copies for the first edition. And then that's when it became like a company. It's like, wow, okay, there's a market for this. And then we kept on doing sort of, manual reissues, but then eventually it sort of switched to just design history books of various, interests.
How many books have you guys done at this point?
I think we're on 11.
Wow.
Yeah, Classified was the 11th one. We have another one coming out this week or next, and so that'll be 12. But yeah, and it's been 10 years. So 2014 was when we started. It's 2024.
Wow.
So it like flew by. Yeah.
Dumb legal question. Feel free to cut this out, Kevin.
No. Yeah.
Do you have to talk to the brands? Like, do you have to talk to the MTA? Do you have to talk to NASA? Like, how does that part work?
Great question. And you don't have to cut this out. And
I will not.
Yeah.
Okay.
The MTA gave us permission for the first one and just said you can only do like the Kickstarter campaign for 30 days. Like that's the cutoff, and you can't sell this book after the 30 days. Because it was a new concept, like crowdfunding. So we're just like, what is this? What are the legal implications? So they did give us permission, but then we have published a smaller, we call it a compact edition of the book that was more affordable and smaller, same content, just like a little bit more of the economical version. So we pay them a royalty. We have a license through the MTA for that. NASA and
Mr. Wonderful works there, and it's like from Shark
Totally,
Tank?
yeah, exactly.
It's like I'll take $1 every book.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. I love Shark
Which
Tank.
one is it?
Also,
Is it more or less?
It's agreeable amount.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
that's
fair.
good.
That's
Yeah. But NASA, the National Park Service for the Parks book we did, the American Revolution Bicentennial, EPA, essentially all the books that we have done that are a federal program are all in public domain because us as
that's
Americans,
smart,
we
yes.
have paid for them. Our
Good
tax
business move.
That's,
Exactly,
There you
yeah.
go. There's the business side.
So I mean, I'm not even secretive about this information. Anyone can commercially use NASA or any federal program's IP and commercially profit from it.
Sweet.
Pretty sick. All
So
right.
get
Get
some
out there.
T-shirts going.
Yeah.
That's why the NASA logo is now like
Fair
on
game.
everything.
Yeah.
So our lawyers advised us of this stipulation, and we essentially just had to give them a letter of intent saying we are going to publish this book with your trademark. We're not, what's the word? Trying to not replicate, but to impersonate a
Imitate.
federal agency. So that's what you can't do. You can't pretend like you are working at NASA.
Shut
But this
up.
is an archival historical object that we are reproducing for archival means, which was true. So we pay no royalties to NASA. However, we do pay royalties to Daney and Blackburn, and they have made more money
Ooh.
from this book than they initially got paid for the NASA project itself.
That's beautiful.
So anyways.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because I imagine when did they do that original branding?
Oh man.
Sorry, I put you on the spot a long time ago. Yeah. And so
I think it says it on the web, or 1970. I think it's 1970. I should know this. I was not. Let me caveat. I was not prepped for this interview, so
we don't send our interviews.
I don't have
questions.
my data.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do.
maybe every now and then.
Yeah.
But sorry, Jesse.
But it's okay.
So at that point, Standards Manual is going, and so you decide to start a very real company to do Standards Manual, and then Order at the same time. Was that sort of the idea to sort of do a studio and the books, or the books first and then the studio? How did that like?
So yeah, the books were first. I mean, 2014 was the start of this technically, and then even
had the job at Pentagram.
Yeah,
still.
me and Hamish were working at Pentagram. We did MTA, NASA. I think the Bicentennial. the compact edition, and I think even Objects, if I'm getting, I think that was like 2015. That's another book. So we didn't want to quit our day jobs. Like, we liked working for Michael. We liked Pentagram. We didn't want to leave. So we did it nights and weekends. And, Michael was very supportive of this. Most people at Pentagram were supportive of it. And then eventually just, Hamish brought up the idea of him wanting to leave. And he had just finished the MasterCard project. He's like, once that launches, I'm going to, put in my notice. And then I was like, you know what? I've been here for 5.5 years. We've learned a lot. Standards manual is getting pretty intense in terms of like time consumption. And so it's like, okay, if you're going to leave in the summer, let me stay for another 6 more months, and then I'll leave at the end of 2016. So that was sort of the plan. And then in 2017, we started Order, and that was basically doing standards manual full time, and then starting Order also as a full time agency sort of practice that essentially was doing the same work that we were doing at Pentagram, sort of focusing on identities and brand work.
Where'd the name Order come from?
Great story. Me and Hamish were in Atlanta, speaking of. We were talking about Atlanta earlier. What's the park that they built where it's like a public, it's sort of like their version of the High Line? Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Magic City?
Now I'm on the side.
No, but yeah, so there's like a public park. It's like a big long trail that you can. We were speaking at the How conference, which was in Atlanta that year, and we were just walking like after breakfast, and I think we just tried to think of what was the quality of design that we really practiced the most or found the most interesting. And so it's sort of like putting things in grids and organizing information, like a lot of like very boring ways to describe design. But then eventually we thought about like everything in order, like we put everything in order. So we thought, first, could we call this everything? So that we didn't limit ourselves to just design logos or books or packaging or all the things that we wanted to do. It's like, let's just design everything. And it's like, well, wait, we can't design everything. So that's a ridiculous name. And then the line everything is in order came about. And then it's like, let's just shorten it to Order. And then I think like literally as we are walking on this trail in Atlanta, Georgia, we Googled domain names. We bought order.design and then registered for email addresses within like an hour of this plan being cracked. So we did it extremely quickly and then sort of just like let it sit until, 2017 where we could actually officially start. But we had sort of purchased the domain, made email addresses, and then went to a bar and just sketched the logo, which literally is the logo we have today. So we did not overthink this plan.
Just went with
right
it.
on.
Yeah. Do people call you guys Order Design?
Yes.
Like they do
and it's
Center
a big
Design?
pet peeve.
Yeah. I'm going to admit something to you.
Okay.
I started my studio about a year after you guys.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get center.com. And I was like looking at all the permutations as you do. Like we are center, the Sumter center, And you guys had order.design. I was like, that's pretty clean. And center.design was available.
That's great.
And I went with it.
Good.
And people call center design
you're center,
now.
Yeah, exactly. So
it sucks. So
you have regrets of taking our lead.
Yeah. You influenced me, and I gotta say, it's not great.
No, we don't like it. I don't blame anyone. I'm not mad, but I just want.
I have you to blame.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
We just have to clarify when we can clarify that it's just order. But I get it. It's like. What order? That if you put that in a sentence, everyone's gonna be like, "What order?" Like that. It's too common of a word.
Yeah,
like center.
It's the same problem we have, and everyone's like center design, the center.
Oh yeah, the order. I love actually the order. I'm actually pro the order more than
too.
order.
I'm pro the center.
The center.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool, but like, I'm always like. Center.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's my last name. So I'm just like, it's my last name.
I know.
And people still are struggling with it. So it's a branding problem that we both have. So it makes me feel better that you have that same problem.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot of stuff at Order outside of the design work.
Yeah.
You have the books. You guys have a type foundry.
We do.
You guys have a service order? Is that what is this called?
Change order.
Change order. Sorry about that.
But trust me, we have a whole list of order names that service order is for sure on there.
So we have similar. We have center.
Exactly,
we have front center. We want to have a podcast. You ready for the name? Out of Order. Have you thought about it?
That is the name of our bi-weekly Thursday meetings where we share work that is not, it was actually intended to not be order work, but it is now, or it is sort of just, this is the, so we have out of order, we have working order, we have, change order, which is the pro bono sort of side of the office. But yeah, so like Center, you can think of a lot of adjacent words.
Jesse, we have a lot more in common than
I know,
I ever
look at
realized.
this, yeah.
We both have these studios in Greenpoint. We both like a pun with our names.
Well, yeah.
We have a community center.
There you go.
Front center.
Yeah.
I have a list of things that I'm not going to say on the pod that I'm planning on using for other things that involve center. You know what? We're just out here.
I feel like I'm going to say this on the pod so that I can like coin it now. But we have a thought for either a naming or copywriting arm of Order, called alphabetical order. Come on,
that's really good.
I flew into our Slack like one morning. I was like, guys, brace yourselves. I have it.
It just writes itself. Yeah. Do you guys do naming?
We do. Yeah. So, and Megan on our team, she's been taking some copywriting classes, and we sort of had a naming project that we were talking about at the time. That's why this came to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, alphabetical order.
It's brilliant. Yeah, there you go.
So we have to use it.
And the Type Foundry, what's the name of Type Foundry?
That's super boring, but also then translated into something amazing, which is Order Type Foundry, which is OTF.
Yeah.
So that was credit to our, we had a designer, Keon, because Order Type Foundry was the placeholder name. It's like, let's come up with a really cool name for the Type Foundry. For now, it's just Order Type Foundry. And he's like, that's OTF. We're like, holy shit. So that was it.
I really like Plaza Grotesque.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have dabbled.
That's actually not in Order. That's my typeface that I just did in a type class. That's how I learned how to design a typeface, which I will never do again because I'm not talented enough. But that was the one I came out of it with.
I have tried to use it on a couple of projects. I will let you know that.
And clients always
it has
shoot it down, right?
Through. And part of why I like it so much is your sort of representations of what it could look like were all package design.
Yeah.
And
because I want to do package design. I never have. Yeah.
I mean, someone should just take this. I'm looking at it right now. Someone should just roll with this. It's perfect. It's so brilliant.
Did do like a grocery store. I'm just blanking. I'm sorry on your name. You know who you are, but like somewhere in the South, and they basically did a version of that, and it was awesome.
Yeah, no, I have thought about sort of. Not thought about it. I've tried to use this typeface, and I do think someone should just take this and run. It's an identity for sale.
Yeah,
you can just buy it or just just make it. It should exist.
So that sort of predates the Type Foundry, but now Emily Claby on our team, she runs the Type Foundry, and she just put out a typeface called Stringer. So that's sort of a unique one. It's the second time it's happened where an Order employee has also released a typeface. So Emily Atwood, she was also a designer on our team, and at the time she released Etude, so that's also part of the Foundry. But then other ones are designers outside of Order.
Our thing for designers who do things that are not in the center, off center.
Yeah, perfect.
Brilliant. Everything's organized. Order. What's the beef with mess? Like, are you a secretly like a very organized person at home?
Yeah,
you are. You just
I am.
Yeah,
people come to my apartment and they're like, "Did you do this for me? Like, is it always like this?"
That's how you are.
This is like how I live. I mean, I have like wooden shelves. I don't have Vitsu because I need some warmth into my home.
Everything on 45-degree angle. Is there truth to that? Yeah, is that true to that?
That's a rumor circulating design
about you.
About me?
And about Order.
Well, we definitely follow the, and again, like when we were working at Pentagram, Michael would tell us, he's like, in the Vignelli office, we couldn't leave our desks unless all the lamps were at 90-degree angles.
Jesus
and Christ. I was sort of like, fuck yeah, I love that. So no, I am.
Although you were like, that's awesome.
I'm not like a total monster about it, but I do suggest that in our office, things are, nulled. If people know that term, it's just like, it's my minor
OCD.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sort of comes out, and I think it just puts me at ease. I really do try to pull back and like don't tell that person to put the bag in the place that I want it to be. But yeah, it's in me.
If you're not familiar with Order's work, go to the website order.design.
Yeah, really small type that you probably can't read. But
it's the work is incredible. I will always say that like you guys are genuinely brilliant at sort of system architecture. Everything that you guys do is perfect. Case studies are so good
Thank you.
and so long.
They are.
And they make me, as someone who kind of like hates case studies because they're just so hard to put together.
I know.
When I see your case studies, I'm like, Jesus, how long did this take to make?
Yeah.
How long do they take to make? Like,
They're a project in and of itself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, any design studio that makes case studies, like
Yeah.
you understand, like I think I'm pretty, like Collins, they like have like a
Oh
whole
my
team
God,
dedicated
yes.
to this. So like I feel for our designers because they, after they've just gone through like making guidelines, this whole project, then it's like, yeah, should we make the case study now? But it's like, it's a closing of the chapter and it feels really good when it's out. But yeah, they are very time consuming. And I mean, they can take sometimes fast, like, you know, if you do like a quick, smaller identity, you know, you have all of the assets. So now we have sort of a system down where, you know, you could sort of smash one out in a few weeks or like, you know, really quickly. A couple years. But yeah, I mean, Garrett's been working on some now that have been, and Emily, like months in the making.
I do think they're also unique in the fact that they do tell a story about the project in a way.
And you do all that work and no one's going to see it. So we're like, let's just show people all that stuff we did.
It's kind of similar to First Round in that way, where it's like you're showing how you got to the work. You're maybe not showing like
how
options,
the sausage is made.
but like you're really letting people in, which is really brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, image wise, count number. I think when we do our case studies, we're like, okay, we're trying to aim for like 10 to 15 pieces of content, whether it's video or photography or something. I think you guys, I once counted once and I think I lost count. I was just like trying to count how many images.
I think Gage and Tollner takes the cake.
So Gage and Tollner is the project that I think I was trying to count because I was like, how many images are in this project, which is a brilliant project, by the way. It's so beautiful. And that whole story is so rich and how you know, that place existed for a long time and they knocked down the walls and it was still there. So want to tell that story about Gage and Tollner?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
how that project.
So this one, Hamish Smythe, he led that project. So that was sort of his baby. So I was sort of, I'm not even that involved in the project, but yeah, the original Gage and Tollner, which you'll have to like fact check me on the date in which it was originally established. I'm sure it's on there somewhere. But they built it. I believe it became landmarked. And so then when there were other businesses in there, which it was an Arby's, they built fake walls over the original fixtures and walls and wallpaper so that when eventually Arby's left and it became up for sale, now the owners of it just took down all the fake, you know, ceiling and walls and everything was sort of intact.
Still there.
So they just renovated it essentially to the original, you know, state in which it was in. And so, yeah, that's why.
1879.
There you go.
And so
it's Brooklyn's oldest restaurant.
And it looks incredible. And what you guys did is you kind of went back to the original signage.
Yeah, revived like the
typography
menus. And so, we just did sort of, I don't know, sort of a service, we hope, to the original intention of the restaurants, and then sort of added a few other contemporary typefaces to sort of like have some clarity and sort of legibility. But yeah, I mean, so that was the most fun case study to make because we went there and we just ordered everything on the menu and we shot everything with film. So me and Hamish are big film buff, you know, photographers.
Yeah.
And he shot medium format. I shot 35 millimeter and we just ordered everything. And we said, okay, everyone just like start eating and we're just going to photograph like, and Garrett's just like tearing into a steak and like a bone and we're just digging into food.
What a dream.
We just, you know, ate food and took photos.
I haven't been yet, but it's supposed
very
to be
good.
Great.
It's extremely good.
Yeah. How many steaks you guys eating there? A lot, or you know?
Yeah, I mean, I saw like I eat there all the time. I think I've been only like 3 times, but it's, you know, a full like steak martini. They have, what is the baked Alaska is like the dessert, which is like an old school sort of literal mountain of Cool Whip that is then baked and then you crack into it and it's, you know, it's extremely sweet.
For research, did you guys have to go there a bunch and, you know, eat a bunch of steaks?
So I think Hamish went there like more than I did and like went to the kitchen as they were doing like the test kitchen and like sort of cooking stuff. So, you know, I went on a few signage visits and we did sort of like specking out of what the signage was going to be. But Jesse Reagan, he redrew sort of the word mark and we sort of did like a rough version of it and then he took it and redrew it from XYZ type. And so, yeah, fun project. But yeah, that case study was just like, there's so many good photos that we got. It's just like, let's just like exhaust people as they're going through this case study. And why not?
It's exhausting, but in the best way possible.
That's good.
Say. And the original logo was so funky and cool that you
which
guys
is
just
very
like,
unlike anything we do, which I'm like happy about. That's a project where I really pride ourselves on the diversity of our work, I think, me specifically and the work that I do can get very lumped into the do everything in Helvetica category, which, I'll sort of own. But I think like that project and a lot of other projects that we do actually, I think are how we show the range. And we actually don't just come into a project and know that we're going to, slap Vignelli on it. And there's more to us than just that.
You like what you like.
Yeah,
that's what I was
I'm not going to deny it. But
I like bold and colorful.
There you go.
Sometimes you like.
I'm more of a Franklin Gothic extra condensed sort of guy.
That's right, exactly. Another project I really love from you guys is JustWorks. And part of it is because of the amazing brand system that you guys did. And the other part is just how much I love JustWorks. I if anyone out there is listening to this,
are you a customer of
100%?
Us too, yeah.
And if you want to start a studio, my number one piece of advice is sign up for JustWorks.
Yeah.
It is the only reason that the studio exists.
Yeah. Yeah. Benefits, insurance, payroll.
Yeah.
They do it all. So we were
using
customers
JustWorks before?
first.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I think their head of product reached out to us first. That's how sort of the initial contact was made. And then, we not pitched work, but we sort of, submitted a proposal, and we're probably up against many other people. And we were so thrilled that we could, do work for this service that we were already customers of. And for that one, we worked with Type Foundry and did the custom typeface sort of right out of the gate. And that was the first time where we pitched the idea of a custom typeface sort of before, not retroactively, or not like while you're into the process, because they deal with information and data and compliance. And we said, a typeface is way more useful to you than a sort of custom photo shoot art direction sort of thing.
I mean, the work is amazing, and your type work that you guys do when you sort of bring these typefaces, and then how you show them off, I think, is also another piece where it's like JustWorks. They should run these posters, like they should, they should make all this stuff, and
they did a good job on rollout, and now it's sort of like morphing and evolving. And
there's some cool illustration stuff too happening around Greenpoint where I see.
So now that's like not even that project is pretty old. I can't remember what year that came out. I mean, like 2019. I think it was pre-pandemic. But in any case, now they're sort of, building on top of it, doing their own stuff. They have campaigns and other, pieces that they need to sort of invest into. So illustration. Yeah.
This segment was brought to you by JustWorks.
Yeah, 100. It's brought to you by Taco Bell, JustWorks, Liquid Death.
Yep, exactly.
Let's just add it.
Gage and Toner free steaks with promo code Front and Center. No, JustWorks honestly is the best, and it just makes running a company so much easier than I could ever imagine it could be. And I think people sometimes, friends of mine, they're like, you have all these employees. How do you do it? I'm just like, JustWorks. It's really just as simple as that. I just kind of I just plug it in and they do the work.
And like their support team is so responsive. You can call them.
This is honestly
this is rare.
The best customer service I have ever experienced is JustWorks, where genuinely I call them and I'm like, I have a question about da-da-da-da. And they're like, hey, cool, let's talk about it. I'm like, what?
Like
a real person?
Yeah.
That just like actually helps.
It's like, Vanessa, thank you.
Yeah. It's like, they are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I run a design studio. They're like, cool. Like, how can I like help you with, Kevin? And it's like,
And they're not a small company. They're very large.
Yeah. If every company had customer service like JustWorks, and that really sounds like an
I know.
Like genuinely, I think the world would be a better place.
Right.
And so,
I mean, they ran me through like the insurance options.
Yeah. No, they really know what they're
explain
talking
it all.
about. No, they will
help
employees just as much as founders. So it's really, it's fucking
like when I onboard people, I'm like, I forget which category you go in, but if you just call JustWorks, they'll tell you, and then like just get on the phone.
Yeah, it sounds like a great question, but if you call JustWorks, I'm sure they will understand and they'll help you. And they 100% of the time they're right. So
great client, great project.
I just call them to vent sometimes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you ever just having a bad day?
Alex is really laying into me. How?
Yeah, you just therapy is like
your
therapist.
Just they are like HR. They are essentially our HR.
Yeah, I was like, what do you think Kevin should get for a bonus for Christmas? They're like, how's he been doing? And I was like, I was just like, he's good, but he's room for improvement. They're like, okay, let's talk this out.
Yeah.
No, seriously, they genuinely are that good, and I think if they contact me for work, I'll do it for free. I'm just like as
wow, this is on the record.
I'm not trying to steal a client. I'm just saying I'm such a fan that I'm trying to do work
enough to
for
go
free.
around.
I owe them. That's the way I see
I'm
it.
with you in Taco Bell. I will do it for free or for like a trade.
I owe them.
No free work, guys. Come on.
Sorry.
Okay, you're right.
Before we get out of here, Herman Miller.
Yeah.
His latest project, the Order Crew. I gotta imagine that's an absolute dream come true.
Yeah.
For someone like you that likes to put
Helvetica
things in
boy.
order. And yes, kind of talk to us about sort of how did that came through. When did you start working with them, and sort of how have you gone to their archives? Like, what's the experience
we
like?
did the whole deal, and I mean, credit goes to Kelsey Keith. She is sort of the one that ran the project and who was our sort of point there. And we knew her from, she has a journalism background, and she had written about the standards manual books. And I think when this project came up, just the sort of systematic intention that she knew this project needed to have. So she got in touch, I think, from that perspective. And yeah, I mean, it was one of those we're tweaking, not changing projects.
Evolution, not a revolution.
Yeah, exactly. And we had done a similar project for MoMA, which circle back to my first job. We did a design system project for them with Rob Giampetro leading it. And that was a do not touch our logo sort of brief, but everything else needs a system to it. So it was more like brand architecture guidelines. So Herman Miller is pretty similar. It was obviously we've built up equity and brand recognition, but we are becoming a little bit more of a different company or an evolved company than we were for the past 20 years. Let's take an audit of what are good things and what are bad things. What do we want to leave behind? What do we want to sort of fix and introduce? So yeah, we went to the archives in Zeeland, Michigan. Incredible archives. We saw handwritten letters from Charles and Ray Eames of critiques of the ads and sort of specs and things that were being done. So really to see a lot of the materials in their archives was a jaw-dropping designer's dream come true. So yeah, we went out there, did that process, and basically just audited the entire company from a visual perspective. And the M symbol that Irving Harper drew in 1946. Garrett's going to be proud that I knew that fact because he always thinks I'm going to get that wrong. Yeah. And I mess with him to be like, yeah, Massimo Vangeli designed it in 2004. Obviously not true. That symbol was the one piece that was on everything from the very beginning of him designing it. So that was what we kept. And then we just evolved a lot of the things like the color palette, typography, and basically just went back to the era of John Massey, which was highly systematic, but allowed a lot more fun and expression to sort of be had in the system sort of in the 70s. And so and then Steve Frickholm, he was Herman Miller's first in-house graphic designer, and he's credited to do all of the picnic posters that if you're a Herman Miller fan, you know about the picnic posters.
I went into a store once and it was right before a big meeting, and we were trying to get more furniture for the studio. And I was like, I'll take that chair and that couch and that poster.
Yeah.
And they're just like, that's not how it works. So that's not.
Yeah. They are sought after. Herman Miller just released the hot dog poster this week.
Really?
Yeah. So
I like the corn one. That's my
there's too many good ones to choose from. But it was about, an 8-month project, and we did, the audit, the brand architecture work, and really got to the core of what needed to evolve in the system to allow them to become a little bit more of a bold, expressive company than they had been for the past 20 years, which was much more, red, black, gray, and white corporate Herman Miller. And it was you really saw it in the office place, and sort of they have a healthcare sort of segments, but now they're getting into gaming and really focusing again more on the residential sort of side of things. So it's, the classics in your home as well as the new products, really being able to pick and choose how you create your space. And that's sort of the underlying tone that we wanted to evoke with the identity and give them the materials to do that.
What do you mean gaming?
Literal video games.
No way.
So they're making chairs for gamers.
Whoa.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's next
Teams
level
chairs
Twitch
for
streamers.
Oh, yeah.
For Twitch streamers?
Yes. Yeah. It's a whole huge industry and market.
I guess it makes sense.
You are sitting in a chair the entire time. So, they have a gaming department and chairs for the ergonomics of your body.
Damn, that rocks.
Slouched over.
That's crazy.
So,
Twitch game will forever be changed.
Totally.
Now for the Herman
Yeah.
Miller
You should look at the chairs. It's looks like basically an exoskeleton of a chair. Oh, yeah. You can buy it.
Oh, whoa.
What's it called?
Embody.
I mean, those are the most ergonomic chairs you can get.
Yeah. So
Meant for marathon sitters.
totally.
Whoa.
And the gaming almost like division has not its own identity, but it has its own
It's kind of cool. It's all
vibe to
black.
it.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we didn't even do that specifically, but the system that we developed sort of influences the way that was going to. And there was another team, which I don't know if I can mention, but another team was working on gaming, another agency, and so we were sort of doing this work in parallel. It's like, how do these things, do they line up? Are they different? So there was a lot of like architectural work, which again is the sort of order philosophy. Is like, we're just sort of like organizing the information here, and then let's like see where we can push out, rainbow cans and also black and white and anything else that needs to go. So it's like, we introduce all these colors that are not just red, that Herman Miller can just be green and you can still recognize that it's Herman Miller, or
Makes a
purple.
lot of sense.
It's like the palette of things in
United
this
Sodas,
office.
yeah. What was the event this week? I saw a hot dog truck.
So that was the issue of the hot dog poster, hence the hot dog truck.
Okay.
And then also the launch of the magazine, or so again, like the relaunch of Ideas magazine, so the Herman Miller magazine,
Sick.
which Kelsey Keith led, and she she did a little interview with us on the brand process in that issue. So I spoke on the panel with the designer and with Kelsey and Diana Budd. She led it. And it was really fun. So they had a hot dog cart, which was the best application I've ever seen of something that we did.
That's the dream, is to sort of get a logo or something on
on a hot dog cart.
Yeah.
Did they actually have hot dogs there?
100%.
Of course. They
Were they
better
good?
fucking out of hot
What
dogs.
kind of what style were they?
Well, you want to know, they were Chicago dogs.
Oh, in
Good.
New York?
In New York.
Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
Chicago dogs are better than New York
No,
dogs.
Chicago dog is not a hot dog.
It was
What are
a
you
great
talking
dog.
about?
I know.
No, that's trash. Trash hot dog. Get that out of my
I love all the
city.
fixins.
Get a pickle on a hot dog?
Yeah, it was the pepper, the
No,
pickle, the green
tomato.
relish, the whole
Name one thing
No.
a pickle
no.
doesn't make better, Alex.
No, not on my hot dog. Come on.
Ugh.
Not in New York City.
Yeah.
I'm walking here. Full case study coming soon on the
Yeah.
website. How many images we go for? A couple hundred? What do we think?
We should
breaking the
probably
record.
go for
we're gonna
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Agent told me?
thousands of small images.
Yeah.
But no, we're waiting for them to switch over the website, and then they're swapping out all the boxes, all the signage, the storefronts, everything. It's like every little thing that they make. It's like Christmas and Hanukkah all over again. So we're gonna wait until we have a little bit more to put in there. But we're gonna show the archival study that we did, the audit. I mean, just brace yourselves.
Yeah, no,
we're
I
basically
know,
gonna make an
I know.
entire new website just for this case.
I know that this case study is going to go.
I think you guys need to start
damn
doing
hard.
like documentary style
Yeah.
case studies.
We might make a film.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mobile one is particularly amazing as well, and I love that system. Every time I go there, it really shines in person, and the ticket hits
thank
and,
you.
and the wayfinding. It's really brilliant, and you guys do such great work. And we could talk about it all day. Before
Sure.
we get out of here,
Yeah.
because I'm getting beat down.
Yeah,
by
we're
the sun.
sweating in here.
Yeah, it's getting
You
hot.
get like glistening. on this.
What's the one thing coming out in the future that you want to get people to sort of pay attention to?
Yeah, so by the time this airs, we will have released a new standards manual book for DC Comics. So it's the 1982 DC Comics Style Guide, which was intended for licensees to reproduce the artwork on ephemeral merchandising, objects. And so, we're re-releasing this guidelines. And if you're a comics person, this is something not to be missed. Even if you're
Sick.
not, like if you, it's the heavy hitters of DC. So,
I will enjoy guidelines for pretty much anything.
and
it
this
really
is a
doesn't-
different, it's not like, typeface specifications. There is a whole sheet of Pantone colors that goes to, Wonder Woman's, outfit and Superman's hair and Batman and everything. It's a Pantone sort of specification sheet. That's like the most graphic designy sheet in there. But then there is all this custom drawn typography for essentially the identities of all the other characters that if you're not, deep into the world, you probably maybe haven't seen, but they're incredible.
Cool.
And then it's the Milton Glaser DC Comics logo that's on the front.
Sick.
So shout out Milton.
Amazing. Jesse, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having
Honestly, so much fun to talk to you about everything. And we should probably hang out more considering we're sort of Greenpoint.
Let's do it.
Sort of neighbors. That's just, okay. So that's the beginning of the show. You ready for the real show? 3, 2, 1. Kevin, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. How do you like the new format?
The new format's good. It's great.
All right, cool. Thanks, man. Peace.